Everyone, this is Dr. Christine Kaczmar. You are listening to Smart Digestion Radio. Today, this is episode 37, all about the lymphatics. Stay tuned.
Time to put the fun in bodily function and take the owl out of the bowel. Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar starts now.
Hey there. So how's it going? How's your week so far? How was your weekend? Hopefully, wherever you are, whatever day it is you are listening to this, you're having a good week. So I am happy to be talking about your body's sewer system. That's right, the lymphatics. And so a lot of people aren't even aware of the importance of this system. I've said many times, whether you've caught my content on my Facebook page, The Digestion Doc, by the way, facebook.com/The Digestion Doc, or if you've heard me on some old Periscopes, or if you've been a patient of mine or are a patient of mine, you hear me say that digestion really is two things. One, it's how well we convert the food we are eating into usable nutrition. And two, how well we eliminate waste. Okay. And so one of the main problems people have is they think you are what you eat. And I've said this many times as well. That's false. Better said, you are what you digest. And so digestion is many, many things. It's not just enough to put something in your mouth and have the body receive it. So from your mouth to your anus, this is just a big, long, squiggly tube, really. And the point is to get that food from inside that squiggly tube into your cells. And that's the process of digestion, really. That's a big summary for you. There are a lot of dots to connect from that analogy, but you get the point. So let's go ahead and dive into some content here about your lymphatics. All right, well, with anything, let's start out with some defining terms here. So what are the lymphatics? Well, the lymphatics are your lymphatic vessels, lymph structures, white blood cells such as lymphocytes. We have two types of lymphocytes primarily, which I'll review too, and lymph tissues. Lympha, L-Y-M-P-H-A, is Latin for clear water or fresh water. And ultimately, there's really not a big difference between your interstitial fluid, the fluids between your cells, and the lymph, except for location. Ultimately, your lymph fluid is going to drain into your venous blood. In the skin, the lymphatic vessels follow your veins. In the viscera or organs, lymphatic vessels tend to follow arteries. Essentially understand this, and that is that your lymphatics protect us against invasion. They are the superheroes, really. They're the crime fighters, I like to say. In an average day, about 3 liters of fluid drain into your lymphatic system. One of my favorite things about learning are all the textbooks that I still have. I am one of those nerds that I never sold back a textbook. I have them all. And here I'm reading from my, what is this book? My Tortora and Grabowski. This edition, I think, is, let's see if I can find it. This is from 1996, but still applicable. I just want to read from page 671 because it says it way more eloquently than I could state. So let's do it. From hour to hour, survival and good health depend on fending off attacks by disease-producing organisms, termed pathogens, neutralizing toxic products of pathogens, repairing tissues damaged by bumps, cuts, burns, ultraviolet light, and caustic chemicals, and eliminating cancerous body cells. This chapter describes the many mechanisms that provide defenses against intruders from without and within and promote repair of body tissues. The ability to ward off disease through our defenses is called resistance. Vulnerability or lack of resistance is termed susceptibility. Resistance to disease may be grouped into two broad areas, nonspecific resistance and immunity. Nonspecific resistance to disease includes defense mechanisms that provide general protection against invasion by a wide range of pathogens, such as the many different kinds of bacteria and viruses. These include mechanical barriers provided by the skin and mucous membranes, antimicrobial chemicals, phagocytosis, inflammation, and fever. For example, the acidity of the stomach contents kills many bacteria ingested in food. Immunity involves activation of specific lymphocytes that combat a particular pathogen or other foreign substance. The body system that carries out immune responses is the lymphatic system. Pretty cool, eh? Let me say that again. The body system that carries out immune responses is the lymphatic system. The The lymphatic system consists of a fluid called lymph flowing within lymphatic vessels, lymphatics, several structures and organs that contain lymphatic tissue, and red bone marrow, which houses stem cells that develop into lymphocytes. So I just wanted to read that because that's, well, more eloquent, as I said before, than what I could prepare for you, although you never know. Maybe I can give that book a run for its money. But at least I wanted to include that. A good summary of what the lymphatics really are is really your body's immune system. 80 to 90% of your body's immune system lives in your gut. And what I want to do now is just kind of talk quickly about some background about the white blood cells, or WBCs. You might see this as your lab work labeled WBCs. Stands for white blood cells. And there are 5 specific classifications of blood cells, or types of blood cells. Really quickly, they are lymphocytes, monocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Each of these white blood cells has its own specific job to do, its own specific role. Lymphocytes I'm going to focus on a little bit more today. There are many different types of lymphocytes, but I'm going to focus on the B cells and the T cells. B cells form your antibodies. T cells create other different types of helper cells, both of which take residence in your lymph nodes and help to protect you from foreign invaders. In your lymphatics, you have organs that are primary and you have secondary lymphatic organs. Your primary lymphatic organs include your red bone marrow and your thymus gland. They're called primary, by the way, because these organs produce both B cells and T cells. Your thymus, little trivia there, it's the largest at puberty, but it atrophies as we age. Secondary lymphatic organs include your spleen and your lymph nodes. Most lymph nodes are concentrated in the breast, the groin, and the axilla, or the armpits. Secondary lymphatic organs may also be labeled as SLOs for secondary lymphatic organs. Your B cells, which, as I said earlier, produce your antibodies, they're produced in the red bone marrow, but once they mature, they migrate to your spleen and your lymph nodes. Your lymph has 2 primary mechanisms with which it runs, with which it moves, through skeletal movement and through breathing, proper breathing, I may add. Through these 2 mechanisms, the lymph is contracted and compressed, and the lymphatics are forced toward your subclavian veins. But your lymphatics have only a one-way valve, so it's very imperative that this system is flowing freely. All right, let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back. The phrase, "you are what you eat," is false. Better said, you are what you digest. Hey, it's Dr. Christine Kaczmar here, and if you're listening and you're out of state, maybe you live in Florida, maybe you live in Texas, and you'd like to work with me, I have you covered. Go to virtualdigestiondoc.com. That's virtualdigestiondoc.com. You will see there are 3 very specific ways that we can work together, even at long distance. Check out virtualdigestiondoc.com. Are you tired of being gassy and bloated and feeling like you got a bowling ball in your belly? I've got you covered there too. Go to omegadigestion.com to pick up my flagship product, Smart Carb. Smart Carb is a digestive enzyme with all of the enzymes in it you need to digest fats, carbs, proteins, dairy, you name it. It also has the healing botanicals of turmeric, black pepper, and cinnamon. Check it out by going to omegadigestion.com. That's omegadigestion.com. Let's get now into the functions of the lymphatics. The primary function of the lymphatics, lipid absorption. Lipids mean fats, and something that is very, very abundant in your gut are things called lacteals. 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 Country of origin? Just kidding. Okay, so what these lacteals do is they get undigested fat to the liver. They transport these fats, absorbed from the small intestine, into the lymphatic vessels and then into the venous blood. A little trivia about the small intestine is that 90% of all the nutrients are absorbed via your small intestine. 90%. A secondary function of the lymphatics is to conserve plasma proteins and fluids for repurposing within the body. Plasma proteins include things like fibrin, albumin, which is the most abundant plasma protein, globulin, fibrinogen. These are things that when we cut ourselves, the body knows to fix it, clot it up, fix it, make a scab. Very essential things that we don't have to think about, thankfully. A third function of the lymphatics is phagocytosis. fancy word for where your white blood cells eat the bad guys. This is a never-ending process, even in healthy people. If you were to really break down the word phagocytosis, it means to eat a cell. So we have all of these white blood cells doing all the things that they need to be doing to keep us healthy, to help keep us into homeostasis, doing things like digesting a yeast cell. They have pictures of this. They literally have these electron micrographs that show a phagocytosis process occurring, that they show a phagocyte engulfing a yeast cell. It's so cool. Your body is so amazingly brilliant. One of the things that I really bring to the table that I excel at, if I could toot my own horn here, is to impart that sense of hope, that sense of brilliance, that sense of elegance that your body has. The best doctor of all resides within each and every one of you. That's a fact. So if I can get people to believe that, to understand that, to embrace that, to be empowered by that, that's one of the ways that I'm helping to save 5 million lives from the broken medical model. What I'd like to do now is conclude by asking you a few questions to be thinking about these things. If I said earlier that 80 to 90% of your immune system is located in your gut, do you see the significance of paying more attention to your gut? Do you see the importance of focusing more on your digestion and understanding that digestion is not just what you eat, it's what you absorb, transport, utilize, excrete, assimilate. It's all of these things. It's understanding that from your macronutrients, your fats, your carbs, your proteins, you need to extract the energy from those nutrients with the proper enzymes. You need to be eating the right amounts of fats, carbs, and proteins, focusing way more on fats and proteins, less on your carbs. Now, I'm not saying not to have carbs. We need carbs. This is our first form of energy. Carbohydrates significantly supply us with energy. If you want a place to start, try to aim for about 150 grams, total grams of carbs per day. I don't count the first piece of fruit, but we absolutely need to be eating fruit in our diet. There are a lot of fads out there. There are a lot of protocols that people follow out there, and they can work for any person listening, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We need fruits. We need vegetables, but we also need fat. We need oil. We need lipids. I believe that we also need good quality meats, wild-caught fish, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. This isn't for everybody, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, like I said. So more importantly, when it comes to looking at your body's defense system, your lymphatics essentially is your body's immune system. We need to be looking at how are we digesting food. We need to be looking at how well are we breaking down every single thing we're putting in our mouth for use. If we're not properly digesting food, now we're going to have a leaky gut, we're going to have inflammation, we're going to have all sorts of energy deficiencies. The only thing that can get food past an incompetent digestive system are enzymes. Enzymes such as Smart Carb, enzymes such as Smart Lymph. Both of these are my products, my formulas. I'm still in practice. You know, I've been talking to my patients this past week. There are trends that I notice in practice. And of the past week, one thing that I was noticing more and more people were doing is kind of going rogue, as I like to call it, meaning they just start dosing their supplements on their own. They're not taking my advice anymore, and they start doing their own thing. And so I've kind of been a little bit cocky about how I'm going about it, and I'm calling myself the Michael Phelps of digestion. What I mean by that is, if you've got somebody like Michael Phelps trying to teach your kid how to swim, or maybe even you're going to probably listen to every single thing that Michael Phelps tells you, right? In the same way, if I'm telling you this is what works, understand that my experience and my expertise spans 17 years. For the last decade, I've been focusing on this. So stop trying to do it yourself. Let me guide you. Let me be your champion, if you will, at letting you know the things that you need to be doing, not doing when it comes to diet, digestion, and so on. It's a team approach, and I can't do it alone, and I can't care about your health more than you do. So when we talk about the body's sewer system, your lymphatics, we really need to focus on the fact that the immune system, the gut, is so significant. It is so paramount for it to be running like a fine-tuned machine. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing this out. Thank you so much for sharing your comments. You know I appreciate each and every one of them. And I will see you next time. Alrighty then, another episode of Smart Digestion Radio is in the books. However, the conversation never stops there. Great hubs to connect with me are going to be my Facebook page, which is The Digestion Doc. That's my handle on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you are interested in joining my community, my private inner circle over on Facebook, go to healthyrebelsfb.com, healthyrebelsfb.com, and my other main sites are thedigestiondoctor.com and omegadigestion.com. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the mission. My mission is to save 5 million lives from the broken medical model, and I cannot do it alone. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.